This is Dolany TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Oilers Discussion. And you know what? I'm feeling pretty good about this one. A lot of pipe dreams, a lot of hearsay, a lot of what could possibly happen this offseason. But today we're discussing the three big ways I feel the Oilers can make a splash this offseason. And there's a lot of research that's gone on to this. So I've tried to do my best to make it as believable, as real and down to earth as possible. However, it all hinges on my number one topic, and we all know what that floats around in Oilers land right now, as we don't, I believe, hold on, let me check. The Oilers have a tweet I haven't seen yet, so give me a minute. No, it's just a Bakersfield tweet, so let's not get too excited. Check Twitter. You guys know how this goes, because I don't want to be wrong, and I'm going to be right. So, I'm seeing nothing super major on the Oilers on Twitter, so nothing's happened as of yet on the GM search. Okay, that's where we start today, is of course the GM search, and the number one way the Oilers can make a big splash at this point is hiring a new GM. Now, what's being floated with Ken Holland and of course the full autonomy is exactly what that big splash would be, because the one way that Oilers fans are so set on things changing is, of course, cleaning house. We've cleaned house a couple times before over the years. Obviously, yeah, the Chambers, the old boys are still there. The problem is where they are and where they aren't kind of deal at this point. But if a GM comes in with full autonomy of hockey operations, he's the POHO and all that, well, maybe we might get a chance at change. Whether it be Ken Holland, somebody else, who knows? My fear is if it's Keith Gretzky getting all that autonomy, maybe, obviously Old Boys Club backlash, and maybe that's been the plan all along, and maybe we're being just roped into something again. Keith is my man, don't get me wrong, but there's got to be caution everywhere we go at this point, especially when Bob Nicholson is leading that charge to find the new GM when he should have been fired about 2 minutes after relieving Peter Chiarelli of his duties. So, number one, like I said, find a GM, hire him, give him full autonomy. It's a scary thought. You know what? It's a very, very scary thought for Oilers fans, because either everything's going to change, it's going to change for the worse, better, or nothing's going to change and somehow the losing continues. Obviously, best case scenario, we're back in the playoffs next year, suddenly a la-di-da, and we all forget about this and we move on with our lives as Oilers fans. Well, does that happen? Hasn't happened for the past, 13 years. Realistically, yeah, that playoff year was nice. It was a blip in the timeline, and we've seen the fallout of it since. So let's just hold back a second here and realize where we are. But if we can move into the playoffs next year, it's a fresh start, fresh chance to do what we tried to do going into 2 years ago and think, man, we've got ourselves a contending team for years to come. Well, didn't work. But another shot at it is exactly what Oilers fans want. And a GM with full autonomy, if he does it right, gets the job done for us. So you got to ask yourself, it's a scary thought. Would you be up for it? I don't know. But to my point, it's a good way for the Oilers to make a big splash. It's as simple as that. Seriously. However, the one thing I will caution is that whole idea works best, absolutely, if you keep Keith on. Keith Gretzky needs to stay on with the Oilers if he is not chosen as the GM. The reason being is you've got Keith Gretzky, who's worked the pipeline for the past how many years under Peter Chiarelli, under Bob Nicholson, whoever he works for at this point, Daryl Cates, I don't know. But it works best because he can give the new GM everything he's got on the prospects, everything he's got on this year's draft. It just sensibly, instead of leading a GM in blind who cleans house, brings in a bunch of new guys who might or might not have been paying attention at up to this draft, and then you try to draft 8th overall. Well, no, thank you, I'm good. But that's number one, and I think that's as Oilers fans, I think that's what we all realize. The second one, what we don't realize as Oilers fans, I know there's some injury news. I know Andre Sekera's not that great. But there's a couple of options on how to get Andre Sekera out of town now that he will have a no-trade clause this summer. And the biggest one for me is trading him with Jesse Puljujärvi. I know, it's tough. Again, here I'm harping on that train after saying trading Kailer Yamamoto's better, but Yamo's been injured ever since then, so for me to say either way isn't as great as it once was. The reason I would go with Jesse Puljujärvi is for these two teams here that I've got selected to work out a trade with. Minnesota is my number one. Obviously, the goal is to bring in a young player or a high draft pick, 7th to 12th overall. Obviously, the Oilers own 8th. If the Oilers trade with themselves, I mean, it wouldn't blow me away because it would be the most Oilers believable thing ever, but you know what I'm going at. Don't need to go down that road. But obviously, you go sit here and I'm like, okay, well, where can we work out a trade? Send a defenseman, send somebody who is very good, very young, and needs a team to play with and might find some good talent to play with. Well, that would be over in Minnesota. That's where I'm trading the young player from. And the dude that I'd be picking up would be Jonas Brodin. Okay, Jonas Brodin, a cap hit of $4.16 million, well, until 2021. So we've got him for 2 years after this. Similar to the Adam Larsson contract, pretty much straight up actually. And really not that bad of an idea. I know he's had that minus 15. That's where I say it's some pipe dream stuff, because maybe Jonas Brodin's not the ideal candidate here, but somebody that could work out in a Puljujärvi Sekera deal to Minnesota. Minnesota's got the cap for it. I mean, Brodin's been a guy who's been pretty shut down all his career, been pretty high in the pluses all his career. I mean, 21 points and 23 plus minus. That right there speaks a lot of volumes about Jonas Brodin and what he can bring. And if you go this route, then I will talk about point number 3. If you go the other route, well, we can still talk about point number 3. Because this route, you'd have to trade somebody like Russell, somebody like Sekera still. Well, Sekera's gone. Never mind. Scratch Sekera. But there's still not enough cap space. So you'd have to trade Russell or Larsson. And obviously, if you're trading for Jonas Brodin, I think Larsson's expendable. I think Russell is expendable. So that's my rant right there. That's easy as that. Is you go trade Sekera and Puljujärvi for a guy like Jonas Brodin in Minnesota. Now to point 2 of point 2. I don't know how to make that sound any better, guys. It's been a long day. If you're wondering why I sound so worn out, I watched Avengers Endgame today. I've watched every single one of those 22 films. And let me tell you, I cried every single kind of tear there is possible today in the movie theater all by myself with a bunch of strangers. So I'm still collecting myself. Let's get back to it. Minnesota, we've already covered that. So what would you go for Philly? Well, Philly, you would just straight up trade Puljujärvi and Andrej Sekera. Philly's still got enough cap space. I know you're going to argue Andrew McDonald, the whole mess. Realistically, if Philly does it right, they can buy out Andrew McDonald for, I think, $1.2 million and then $1.9 the next year. And suddenly you're saving a lot of cap and you're not spending that much more. And you've got Jesse Puljujärvi in place of trying to develop another 18-year-old kid. That's my argument on that. Does it work? Probably not. Pipe dreams? Yes. Big splash? Yes. So you go to Philly and who do you pick up? No, you pick up that draft pick I'm talking about. The 11th overall pick. The Oilers would then draft 8th and 11th. Who you pick with the 11th pick? I'm not dabbling into that. You guys absolutely tore me to shreds trying to pick a guy last time for the 8th overall pick. I'm not a draft guy. I'm not a prospect guy. Never have been. They make it to the AHL and I get to see a couple of highlights. Then I start telling you what I think of them as an NHL player. Up until then, I am a crapshoot away from disaster any given day on a prospect. So the draft pick is just that, a draft pick and another chance to get another young talent in while freeing up cap. That's as simple as it is there for me. So that's Andrej Sekera and Jesse Puljujärvi traded to either Philadelphia or Minnesota in a big splash trade in that window before the draft. Now this video is going on a while. I don't usually go this long, but I've still got another point to make, and this one's going to be a fun one because you go back to that Jonas Brodin. Well, oh crap, oh man, we need to trade another guy, Larsson or Russell. Trade him, because I've got somebody better that could possibly work out. Now this is the best part. If you trade, okay, so if you go for Brodin, you've still got a first overall pick or first round pick. If you go for the Philly pick, you've got an expendable first round pick. See where I'm going? I've kind of built this dummy proof if you get a GM with full autonomy. Okay, this is the crackpot theory, kind of makes sense of nothing. The Oilers are at this point of the offseason trying to make a big splash and trying to get back on ship. Columbus, they're in the playoffs. They've got a good chance to win the Stanley Cup because it's anyone's game right now, I believe. Last refresh, it's the end of the second, might be the start of the third. Still the end of the second. The Boston Bruins are leading 1-0 over top of the Columbus Blue Jackets. That dates what time this video is at. However, you get back to it. The Columbus Blue Jackets have an RFA defenseman who, at 21 years old, has put up over 128 points in 3 seasons in the NHL. Fun, fine, fancy. Born July 19th, 1997. Zach Werenski. Okay, yeah, Columbus Blue Jackets fans, if you're watching right now, you're going to be losing your mind that I'm even suggesting this. But you offer sheet them, and Columbus is going to have to make a choice between who they're re-signing, right? Are they re-signing Panarin and Duchesne? Are they re-signing Bobrovsky? There's going to be a lot of back and forth and fighting within Jarmo Kekalainen's whole general manager's office because they got to figure out what's next for a team with no draft picks this year. Well, right there, this offer sheet is exactly where the Oilers can grease a good player away from the Columbus Blue Jackets. This is the pipe dream. This is the absolute pipe dream if I have ever seen one. Because realistically, the reason I say you've got an expendable first overall pick if you trade with Philly is you get at least 2 draft picks this year while giving up 1 if you go the $6.25 million route. I don't like the $6.25. I think you try and force Columbus's hand a little bit and see which way they go as the draft and stuff approaches. Where Matt Duchene's leading, obviously $6.25 might do more damage than a $4.25. A $4.25 million offer sheet for Zach Werenski. I'm gonna fight myself on that. Not going there. You only have to give up a second rounder in the next draft. Okay, that's easy. You start signing offer sheets no later than June 26th negotiations. So July 1st, everything's wrapped up in 5 days, nice and pretty. If Zach Werenski chooses to sign the offer sheet, that's the thing. He's got to choose to sign it. But hey, you get a chance with new management in Edmonton, everybody changing the culture, getting a chance to play on a good team, maybe paired up with Evan Bouchard. There's a lot of positives that could go on for Zach Werenski if things go well. The $6.25 million route, the reason that Philadelphia Flyers pick is so crucial is you would have to give up next year's first overall pick to be, well, first round pick for the Oilers, might be first overall. Oh my, if Bobby Nicholson signs somebody stupid. However, you go first and third for $6.25 million to Zach Werenski. At that point, you are forcing Columbus's hands so badly. They are tied. And then what do? Oh my goodness, what happens then? That's the thing, is Zach Werenski then has 2 great places to get paid, and he has to make a choice. Does he sign in Columbus? But does Philly even try to match? Because if the Oilers are smart enough and they offer sheet him and do it right at the right time, Columbus might be in a world of hurt not having signed Zach Werenski soon enough. That's kind of the hope, the pipe dream, if you would. But there is no real sense of which way that'll go, is there? Because Columbus could win the cup, find some fancy-dancy ways, let go of Artemi Panarin, let go of Sergei Bobrovsky, and suddenly you've got yourself a team to contend next year with Zach Werenski still on it. So 3 big splashes, all of which possibilities ranked 1 to 3. Literally, I went the least or most likely to the least likely. See how I went? And that's exactly why I put it in the research today. There's a lot of possibility here, but the best idea for the Oilers is obviously move down that list. If you can do all 3, I don't even want to imagine. We'd be having pandemonium at Rogers Place in early October with the excitement to start the season. Will it happen? I don't know. Can it happen? GM with full autonomy. Step number 1, yes, it can. Guys, I'm Tyson. This is Stolen TV. Thank you so much. If you've made it to this point and you're still sitting here, listen to these final words. I appreciate every second you've spent with me, over 15 minutes today. As always, I'm Tyson. This is Stolen TV. I am up on out of here.